everyone, and welcome to my film analysis. It is a story about friendship, lovers, family, listening, and self-reflection, perception through a flashback period of uncertain times while passing on the lessons of today and understanding that you have to find yourself before you can understand the world around you. This is a very clear thesis statement and understanding for the film that I've chosen for Green Tomatoes. In the first class concept, we're going to talk about and focus on friendship. I am going to talk about some other aspects within friendships, of course. The ones that I'm mainly going to focus on are non-romantic related, but some of the romantic terms that we discuss can closely relate or fit within the friendships that I'm going to talk about. So Evelyn is a lonely, unmarried, unhappy, married woman with no friends, no self-esteem, until arriving one day at a nursing home to visit a new mother-in-law, to be kicked out of her room and only to be sitting on the couch, tearful because she doesn't understand why she can't be loved by her mother-in-law, whom I'm assuming has dementia if she's in the nursing home. So then she was able to find and discover this unplanned friendship with one of the nursing home residents named Minnie. Now, both of them were able to help each other in more ways than one. So there's different types of friendships that I talk about. We have the friendship of the reciprocity, friendship of receptivity, and friendship of association. In the friendship of reciprocity, it is the ideal type, and it's characterized by loyal self-sacrifice, mutual affection, and generosity. This is very much um, a great point and an aspect when thinking about the friendships that go on within this movie. So we have, spoiler alert by the way, since I'm not seeing this film, Minnie and Iggy are actually the same people. Minnie being the older, present woman in the nursing home that Evelyn meets, and Iggy is the younger, flashback version of who Minnie is. And then there's Ruth, her best friend. So all four of these women definitely have the reciprocity friendship going on. And then we have the friendship of receptivity, which is the opposite. This is more of an imbalance in giving and receiving. And so with Ed and Evelyn, they are the married couple that go and visit the nursing home. And I really think this is a great example of that because Evelyn is very much giving and lonely and just wants to be recognized as her husband. And so in the friendship that they have within their marriage, she is very much the giving one, and he is very much the receiving one. They come home from a long day's work, he crack opens a beer, he goes right to the recliner and turns on baseball. And all she wants to do is be able to cook a meal and sit down and talk with her husband after a long day of work. And then lastly, we have the friendship of association. This is described as a friendly relationship versus a true friendship. There aren't too many key points of this example in the film, but it is noted. You know, there is a point in time when Evelyn was recommended to go and take a women's class by just a friend that she had known at the grocery store. Again, not a true friendship, but a friendly friendship. And had suggested for her to do that to try and boost her self-esteem. And unfortunately, she combined the Minnie, and that was noted to be much worse. She didn't feel as confident about herself after that women's class. And then we talk about the culture and friendship. Um, this is how we see one another and how it can greatly perceive our cultural influences and those that we become friends with and how we interact with our friends, with these friends. So one aspect of that, we need to consider that this era of this film took place in the 1920s. This these times were not influenced by technology whatsoever. So you only had the support of your friends, your families, and your lovers. Just like that with Ruth. So Ruth went on to be married. She moved to her own home. She was expected to have a baby. And then Iggy ended up staying at her mother's plantation because she was an unmarried woman. She actually liked to hang out with the boys at the bar, drink the beer, gamble. So very different aspects there when it comes between Ruth and Iggy and their differences there. The gender differences, they do play an aspect in the film setting as it is about women empowerment. There is a point in time in the movie when Iggy goes to visit Ruth because after Buddy's death, Ruth was kind of just there for Iggy. And so Iggy wanted to be there for Ruth now at this point in time because she was being abused by her husband. And she wanted to rescue her out of the home and take her away and get her out of that situation. So she was able to successfully do that while Ruth was still pregnant. So they went back to the plantation and kept her safe. And the baby was born, and they did name him Buddy. Um, so that was one aspect of that. But they were able to support one another in the bad circumstances that this had all happened. And then we get into the romantic friendships and gender and love differences. So there are different types. We have the Eros, the Ludos, the Storge, the Progama, the Mania, and the Agape. So within this film, I didn't feel that all of them were types that resonated within the friendships and that was going on. But a few things that I would like to say with the Ludus type. So just because there was not a romantic relationship between Luke and Iggy, there was very much that excitement and entertainment, and it was a game, kind of fun for them, and they weren't taken too seriously. So they just knew each other well enough that they could have fun and they could enjoy life and still go on with each other and not have to worry about any judgment. So this was kind of a good aspect of that friendship. And then there is the Pergamma. So that is more of a practical and traditional type of love. And so I then touch on after you get old enough to a point within this time era, you're to meet a man and you're to be married and to have children and have your own home and have your own life. Iggy, on the other hand, did not meet a man. She just wanted to hang out with the boys, and she had Ruth as her best friend, and that was all she needed. So that's another aspect there. And then we get into concept two. So this is the listening and the human communication part of it. And this is, if there is one thing important to understand about any relationship, it is the need for proper listening. So there's different types of that. There's learning, relating, influencing, playing, and helping. So if we're not learning and relating and being influenced by any type of friendship or relationship, it's going to be hard to be able to contain that friendship. Also need to be helpful. Like there needs to be a benefit between the friendship. And like I talked about, all four of those women, so three actually, because we're considering that Minnie and Iggy are the same people. But I still claim them as four because there's different points in the time frame that they are present. So Minnie and Evelyn and Iggy and Ruth. They all helped each other in more ways than one. Minnie was able to successfully help bring back the self-esteem from for Evelyn. The breaking point for Evelyn was when she went to the grocery store. She, she had years and years of being discarded and not being able to be present and stick up for herself. And so Iggy and Minnie and Iggy were very much like that when they were younger. They always stuck up for Ruth and they always stuck up for what was right. And so Minnie finally just told her, you just go for it and you just do it. So there was a time she was at the grocery store and some young girls had taken her parking spot and they had made the comment, face it lady, we're younger and quicker. And so she got very upset. And of course, this is not an appropriate reaction, but this is a pivotal moment of that film where she backed her car up and she went forward and kept smacking this girl's car. And she got out and she parked her car and she said, "Face it, girls, I'm older and I have insurance." And she walked away. So that was a very big moment for her and understand that because of all of the influence that she had from Minnie and Iggy, she was able to gain that confidence back. And there's different types of critical listening. So we have, so the great example that I put here was, if it weren't for the death of Buddy, Ruth and Iggy would not have found themselves leading the lives that they did. And that's very true, because after Buddy had died, Ruth was called to come to stay for the summer, and that's when her mom knew that would help bring Iggy back out of the shell that she was in after Buddy's death. And then there was an uncertain friendship that turned into a strong, protective, and understanding bonded friendship, and helps to understand the critical listening points throughout this entire friendship. Again, that's very true. And then we move into our last and final concept. So this is about self and perception. Without a doubt, one cannot properly love or share in any form of bond if there's not self-perception of self-love. So Evelyn and Ruth and Iggy all had different self-perceptions of themselves, but it took learning from one another to find that inner self. And in the book we talk about there's 4 different selves of ourselves. We have open self, blind self, unknown self, and a hidden self. And within that we know about self-esteem, and we have also the self-destructive beliefs. So if it wasn't for one another and the experiences that they had, it would have been very hard for them to open and find and discover the different selves that they each have. For example, the 4 different selves, again, the open self, the blind self, the unknown self, and the hidden self. So the open self represents all the information, behaviors, attitudes, and feelings about yourself that you know and that others also know. In the blind self, we talk about how this includes the habit of finishing other people's sentences on your way or rubbing your nose when you become anxious. So this is having knowledge about you that others do not have. In your unknown self, this is also basically what represents the parts of yourself that neither you or others know. And then the hidden self, this is a representation of the knowledge that you have of yourself that keeps secret from others. So I feel like each one of these women all had a piece of these, and it was all brought out throughout the film. Of course, Ruth and Iggy both loved each other. Not in a romantic aspect, but I think there was some question that Iggy never had a male companion. And she very much strived to make sure that Ruth was safe and always there and always protective of her and very much loved her too. And then we have so that would be in the unknown self. So whether that was known or not, it's hard to say. And you don't want to make assumptions because, again, it's still a great film and it's still a great concept with one another being able to find themselves. And then in the hidden selves, this is knowledge that you have of yourself that you keep secret from others. So this definitely came out in regards to Evelyn. So I don't think she knew she had it in her to come out and have this self-esteem brought on. So very, very good aspects here for Evelyn. Just because he was such a great inspiration for her, and the same with Iggy for Ruth, and vice versa, Ruth and Iggy. So in conclusion, with the time gap with Ruth and Iggy, knowing each of them and the friendship that they developed along with the values, this is something that Minnie was able to pass along to Evelyn and develop another friendship and a sense of listening, values, and self-perception of themselves. It's a great film, and it teaches so many aspects about friendship. Thank you.